Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Text 1. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Just don't want to do, I think it's actually text one. Yeah. Jai Ho. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Param Sabarigraj Acharya Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Govardhana Dari Ki Jai. Sri Sri Krishna Balaram Sri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Sri Guru and Sri Govardhana. So Ram Prasad's not feeling well. We've been asked to speak instead. So we'll do our best with minimal preparation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we're starting a new canto this morning, everyone. This is actually Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, part 2, or at least part 2 of the third canto. So, and this is chapter 17. This chapter is entitled The Victory of Hiranyaksha over all the directions of the universe. And this particular part 2 of the third canto has many wonderful, every part of the different cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam is wonderful and has great instructions. Just some of the chapters here in this this part that we're starting today. The next chapter 18 is the battle between Lord Boar and the demon Hiranyaksha. And then we have the killing of the demon Hiranyaksha. So lots of dramatic chapters in this particular part of the Bhagavatam. And then we have wonderful conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidura continuing. And similarly there's a conversation between Manu and Kadama. And then we have the wonderful marriage of Kadama Muni and Devahuti. followed by Devahuti's lamentation, renunciation of Kadama Muni, glories of devotional service, spoken by Lord Kapila Dev to his mother, Devahuti, and fundamental principles of material nature, and it just goes on and on. You might as well read the rest of them also. Description of Lord Kapila, description by Lord Kapila of adverse fruitive activities, Lord Kapila's instructions on the movements of the living entities, entanglement in fruitive activities of Kapila. Yeah, so that's this wonderful volume we're starting today. So, again, yes, most of us like to have lots of days to prepare classes, but sometimes, devotees fall ill, like Ram Prasad is this morning, so we'll do our best. Today also, and please remind me, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, Mani Bandagopal, today is the auspicious appearance day of Srimati Lalita Sakhi. So we'll just say a little bit at the end of the class, which I think is the current format. We could read it now, but I've asked that I not forget. Just have a short description of the glories of Srimati Lalita Sakhi, which we'll read at the end of this class. So text 1, everyone. Maitreya Uvacha Nisam Yatma Bhuvagitam Karanam Sanka Yojitaha Tatasave Nyavatanta Tridivaya Divokashaha Maitreya Uvacha Nisamyatma Bhuvagitam Karanam Sankayojitaha Tatasave Nyavatanta Tridivyaya Divokashaha. Vaishnavis? Maitreya Uvacha. The sage Maitreya said, Nishamya, upon hearing, Atmabhuva, by Brahma, Gitam, explanation, Karanam, the cause, Sankhya, from fear, Ujhitiha, freed, Tataha, then, Save, all, Navatanta, returned, Tridivaya, to the heavenly planets, Diva Okashaha, the demigods who inhabit the higher planets. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Sri Maitreya said, the demigods, the inhabitants of the higher planets, were freed from all fear upon hearing the cause of the darkness explained by Brahma, who was born from Vishnu. Thus they all returned to their respective planets. Please repeat. Sri Maitreya said, the demigods, the inhabitants of the higher planets, were freed from all fear upon hearing the cause of the darkness explained by Brahma, who was born from Vishnu. Thus they all returned to their respective planets. Purport. The demigods who are denizens of higher planets are also very much afraid of incidents such as the universe's becoming dark, and so they consulted Brahma. This indicates that the quality of fear exists for every living entity in the material world. The four principal activities of material existence are eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. The fear element exists also in the demigods. On every planet, even in the higher planetary systems, including the moon and the sun, as well as on this earth, the same principles of animal life exist. Otherwise, why are the demigods also afraid of the darkness? The difference between the demigods and ordinary human beings is that the demigods approach authority, whereas the inhabitants of this earth defy authority. If people would only approach the authority, then every adverse condition in this universe could be rectified. Arjuna was also disturbed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but he approached the authority, Krishna, and his problem was solved. The conclusive instruction of this incident is that we may be disturbed by some material condition, but if we approach the authority who can actually explain the matter, then our problem is solved. The demigods approached Brahma for the meaning of the disturbance, and after hearing from him, they were satisfied and returned home peacefully. Translation again. Sri Maitreya said, the demigods, the inhabitants Sri Maitreya said, the demigods, the inhabitants of the higher planets, were freed from all fear upon hearing the cause of the darkness explained by Brahma, who was born from Vishnu. Thus they all returned to their respective planets. Omajnana timirandasya gananjana shalakaya chakshu umanitam jena tasmai sri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual masters very kindly come, forced open my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I offer my most respectful obeisances unto his verse. So, the pregnancy of Diti will result in the birth of two great demoniac personalities, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. I've heard it said that one was conceived first and the other was born first. And Hiranyaksha, he was, as we'll read in upcoming verses, and Hiranyakashipu, they were very powerful personalities. In the age of Kali, the demons are very puny and insignificant, but in former ages, they were very powerful personalities. And Hiranyaksha, when he appeared, he was just full of rage and passion, and was a very good warrior, a very powerful fighter. He travelled all over the universe and defeated many other great heroes of the time. And it's said that he actually approached Lord Varunadev, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me, please. But I think it was Lord Varuna who he approached. And he was just Hiranyaksha was just looking for a good fight. He defeated other great heroes. But Varunadev said, well, I'm old, I don't fight anymore. But if you want a good fight, you can go and fight with Vishnu. So where's he? Well, he's down in the subterranean regions of the universe, retrieving the Earth planet, which has fallen down there. And he's in a very wondrous form as Lord Varaha, Lord Boar incarnation, because boars are very expert using their tusks to retrieve things from nasty places. So you can go and have a fight with him. So that's what Hiranyaksha did, and of course he got a good fight and he got himself killed. And this facilitated Krishna's desire, as we've been hearing in many, many previous verses in this part of the Bhagavatam. Everything originates in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even the tendency for competition and fighting. So Krishna also from time to time likes to engage in a good fight. But he doesn't just fight with anybody. And of course, as we're well aware, it was Jai and Vijay who were cursed to appear to serve as combatants to in the pastimes of the Supreme Lord in different forms. So many wonderful points in this purport Srila Prabhupada is elaborating on, and of course this indicates that the quality of fear exists for every living entity in the material world. And on one occasion at 26 Second Avenue, a young man boasted to Srila Prabhupada that he was not afraid of death. So Prabhupada asked him, do you look left and right before crossing the busy streets here in Manhattan? And the man admitted that he did. So Prabhupada said, then you're afraid of death. Very brilliant logic. So everyone can sort of puff out their chest and beat their chest and say, oh, I'm not afraid of death. But when death comes and is staring us in the face, then it's death is never pleasant. But of course, and somebody helped me out one morning when we were asked this question, and gave the appropriate example that for non-devotees, and the example is there that the cat holds both its kittens in its jaws, but it also periodically catches rats. So for each, it's a different sensation. The kitten feels the loving embrace of its mother, carrying it from one unsafe place to a safer place. But for the rat, it's the jaws of death. Because even though the cat may play with that mouse or rat for a while, eventually it's going to end its misery and kill it. So for non-devotees, of course, that death comes and it's a very traumatic experience. But for the devotees, Krishna explains that death I am. That's another fantastic, wondrous manifestation of the Supreme Lord. all glorious and mighty phenomena spring from but a spark of my splendor, Krishna says. So definitely the phenomena of living entities leaving their bodies is quite wondrous in all its different manifestations. So, and it is significant to reflect periodically on Srila Prabhupada receiving the name from his father, Abhay Charan Day. It means one who is fearless, having taken shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Of course, that name was slightly altered by Srila Prabhupada's eternal father, spiritual master Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Abhay Charanaravinda Das. Again, yes, one who is fearless. Why? How fearless? Because we take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. And there are many wonderful verses in the Bhagavatam which describe like that the troubles of this material world are shrunk into the amount of water contained within the hoof print of a calf. Very easy to step over a puddle of water which has been created just by the hoof print of a small cow, but very difficult to cross over the vast ocean, which is samsara, cycle of birth and death in this material world. Let's see if we get it right. Mahatpadam punya yaso marari Pavam Vatsa Param Padam Padam Param Padam Yavipadam Natesham. I think that's the Sanskrit for that. Yes. So everyone is looking for shelter, but there's not much shelter here in this material world. So that is problematic. But and even persons take shelter of powerful demigods like Lord Shiva and his consort Durga. And it is said in different shastras that they can actually award liberation, certain types of liberation. But they can only do that because they're empowered by Krishna to give those boons, those benedictions. Without the benediction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Govinda, even Lord Shiva, Goddess Durga, they cannot actually award deliverance to anybody. They receive that potency from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and it's also said that in previous ages that demons and devotees were born on, does it go back as far as different universes? And then planets. Planets is as far back as it goes, okay. Born on different planets, but then as the ages progress, then they're born, demons and devotees are born on the same planet, but in different countries perhaps. And then it gets a little more condensed to different families. And we've heard it said that, of course, we have either demoniac inclinations or divine inclinations. So even in the same, we're fighting this great struggle, the great struggle to just live a divine existence, a devotional existence, fighting the lower nature. This example is sometimes used beyond the scope of Vaishnavism. Some of you may have heard. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was fond of using this example, that a person had a dream, I believe, and in the dream they saw two dogs fighting and was wondering which one of the dogs would win the fight, and then it was revealed, the one you feed. So we're attempting to feed our devotional, our spiritual inclinations, and not feed our mundane aspirations, expectations. We have to manage our expectations. Sometimes a statement in the modern world, and especially for devotees, we know it's a long path, depending on how long we live, but still we striving every day to respond to the higher nature, the call of the higher nature, that not to become in any way complacent or covered over again by Krishna's very powerful material nature. The two sub-potencies of Maya are there, Avaranatmika and Prapshipatmika Shaktis, sometimes described as pulling down and covering over. I think Avaranatmika is pulling down, covering over, sometimes also described as throwing potency of Maya. And we can easily get covered over and then thrown down, that is Maya's thankless task, testing our sincerity and our sincerity and also our seriousness to make this our last birth, or perhaps second last or third last, but one of the last. So Prabhupada mentions here we have to approach an authority in all adverse conditions. And he gives the example of Arjuna being disturbed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but he approached the authority, the supreme authority, Krishna. The famous verses there, no matter how many times we've heard it, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvedashinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively, render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Inquire submissively and render service. Are they the two? They're the only two, right? It's not third. I didn't miss one, yeah? Inquire submissively and render service. Self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So that's what's encouraged. A tattvadarshi, one more knowledgeable than us in spiritual science, can enlighten us, but we shouldn't come with a challenging spirit. We should come thinking, you know more than me. I've come to you for serious instruction here. Why am I suffering? What to do about it? And a qualified devotee will encourage, well, you're suffering because you're forgetting Krishna, so what do I do about it? Well, hear and chant about Krishna and render some service to Krishna and his devotees, because that's very pleasing to Krishna. And you'll become happy. And Rupa Goswami gives in his wonderful items, 64 items of bhakti yoga, devotional service. He explains that in many places that the beauty, he does qualify it as pure devotional service, but he says that even in the beginning of pure devotional service, the devotee, the aspiring devotee, becomes free of all lamentation. No longer unhappiness. Unhappiness is eradicated almost instantaneously. One becomes jolly, joyful. It destroys all inauspiciousness, pure devotional service. And also the aspiration for liberation becomes very insignificant. These are the first 3 of 6 wonderful benedictions of executing pure devotional service. So when we inquire submissively from Krishna's devotees, and we become enlightened, we become aware of who we are, who the Supreme Lord is, and what our relationship is with Him. And that destroys bhaya, or fear. When Prabhupada visited Moscow, he had conversations. Actually, the only reason Srila Prabhupada was able to visit Moscow in the first incident was that he got a formal invitation from one professor at a leading university in Moscow, Professor Kotovsky. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult. Even though India and Russia, the former Soviet Socialist Republic, were allies at the time, but still may have been difficult. What to speak of Prabhupada being accompanied to Russia, to Moscow, with 2 of his American disciples? That could have been very much impossible. But Prabhupada got to go there, and the rest is history, as we say. Prabhupada meeting 2 young, curious Muscovites, Russian men, who saw Shyamasundar Prabhu, who they observed was not a Russian. Perhaps he wasn't dressed necessarily, but perhaps he was in dhoti kurta. But Mukunda Maharaj might know. But at least they approached him and asked him, do you have any Beatles records? And Shyamasundar, quick as lightning, said no, but my guru's visiting Moscow and he's the guru of the Beatles. Would you like to meet him? And of course these 2 young men said, yes, we would. And so from that one meeting, and just over at the space of a few days, Ananta Shanti Prabhu, Anatoly, was initiated by Prabhupada, and the rest is the glorious history of the Russian Yatra. We'll get back to one more thing before we get back to Professor Kotovsky. I heard a saying the other day, if you want something done in ISKCON, ask a Russian devotee. Huh? Vishnu Jan, you like that? It's true. It's true. Vishnu Jan's chuckling. We go out on Harinam every Sunday, or most Sundays. And it's such a delight because Vishnu Jan is just so expert at organising it and managing it. He won't take any praise for doing it, but it's a wonderful service. And it's so ecstatic. We were in Byron Bay yesterday. There were more people in Byron on a non-market Sunday than there is on the market Sunday. And it was so blissful. So yes, you want something done, ask a Russian devotee. And of course we were all touched to our hearts last Wednesday or Thursday, whatever day it was, when Madan Mohan Prabhu presented some of us fortunate enough to be accepted by Srila Prabhupada as duly initiated disciples with our wonderful little murtis of His Divine Grace. So wonderful service the Russian devotees are doing. And I asked Vishnu Jan yesterday, is Madan Mohan still here? And he said, no, he's already back in Moscow. So moving fast. And I think some of you may know his name has been put forward as a candidate for the august renounced order of life, sannyas. So that will be glorious, and a glorious for him and also for his wonderful Guru Maharaj. Srila Mukunda Goswami. So back to Professor Kotovsky. I haven't forgotten, and I'll leave a few minutes for Lalita Saki also. But Prabhupada, in his conversations with Professor Kotovsky, made this point that everyone has to accept some authority. You are accepting the authority of Karl Marx, Lenin, Stalin. We're accepting the authority of Lord Sri Krishna. But still everyone's accepting some authority. And of course we've found by following Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we're enjoying this happy life of devotional service, bhakti yoga. So I might stop there, everyone. I've just got a little, not having much time this morning to prepare, but by the glories of modern multimedia communications, I'm just going to read, who is Sri Lalita Devi? Lalita is famous as Srimati Radharani's constant companion. Her complexion is like the yellow pigment Gora Chana, and her garments are like peacock feathers. Her mother is Sarati Devi, and her father is Vishoka. Her husband is named Bhairava. He is a close friend of Govardhana Gopa. Her age is 14 years, 8 months, and 27 days. Her home is at, anyone know? Yavat. And her nature is Vama Prakara. In Gora Lila, she has assumed the form of Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami. And the chief Sakis in Lalita's group are Ratna Rekha, also known as Ratna Prabha, Ratikala, Subhadra, Chandra Rekila, also known as Bhadra Rekila, Sumukhi, Danishta, Kalahamsi, and Kalapini. Considered a prominent personality in the worship of Lord Krishna, she is described as a beautiful young girl with a charming and playful personality. Sri Lalita Devi is one of the closest friends of Radha, who is the eternal consort of Lord Krishna. According to the Vaishnava tradition, Lalita Devi is one of the 8 principal gopis or cowherd girls who are always assisting Radha and Krishna in their divine pastimes. Lalita Devi is known for her expertise in arranging the meeting of Radha and Krishna. She is also regarded as an expert in music and dance and is known to have taught Radha and Krishna various forms of dance and music. Lalita Devi is said to have a very strong personality and is known to be very bold and fearless. She is considered to be an embodiment of love and devotion toward Lord Krishna. Lalita Devi is an important figure in the worship of Lord Krishna and is revered for her devotion, music, dance, and her role as a friend and companion to Radha. Her presence in the divine pastimes of Radha and Krishna is of great significance to the Vaishnavas. Jai Sri Lalita Saki Ki Jai. So I'll stop there. Anyone? Any further points? Do we have a microphone? Fire it up. Perhaps someone can give. Oh, we've got an assistant here for microphone transporting. She can do. Very good. Thank you. Feel free to add anything on the glories of Srimati Lalita Saki Prabhu.
It's just, you're mentioning about Russian devotees. I remember in the 80s, Harikesh Swami was in Sydney giving classes. He was very active in the Russian Yatra. And he said that if you get 100 of the most fired up devotees from all around the world, put them together, you'll get one average Russian devotee.
Did you hear that, Vishnu John? He's having a sip of his herbal tea there after that comment. It's true. It's true. Yeah. Yeah. So whatever the population of New Govardhana is in devotees, times that Yes. Not only Vishnujan, we have Sita. Who else do we have of Russian origin? Anyone can think? Sita and Vishnujan. And Vishnujan's wife's temporarily out of the country, and his kids, but hopefully coming back soon. And yes, it's a fact. Good comment. Thank you, Mani Bandagopal. Anything else? Yeah.
Just mention a couple of things. First of all, in preaching, we would generally find that people aren't so afraid of death. I mean, yes, as Srila Prabhupada pointed out, because death isn't such a incentive, is it? It's not such a great incentive. So actually people will steer away from fear, as in to find another point of focus. And there's, just as from, other than a proper sense of fear, there's self-preservation, principle of self-preservation, and we can look at it when preaching to people as the relevance as, yes, the Krishna is saying that, with one neither laments for the living nor the dead, and the relevance to that, just on how everything can be focused on the refocus back to the link to the Supreme, to the soul, and actually most people would think of the devotees being fearful if they're actually advocating that, you should understand there's such a fear of death. But we have the answer in that, well, if one understands the nature of the soul and the possibility of the relationship to the Supreme Soul, then actually there is no lamentation. I was just getting a perspective on the chronological order you did, so I didn't catch it, where you said at the beginning that one was born first, one was conceived first, with Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha and Lord Brahma. What did you mean there?
Not Lord Brahma, but Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha.
Okay.
Yeah, they were twin brothers.
Right.
And it said somewhere that I didn't have time to research it this morning, but they were twin brothers. They were born as twins are born almost immediately, but one was conceived first, and actually it was Nisringakavacha who told a story, possibly from one other Purana, some weeks or months ago, and he gave a more elaborate explanation, which I just cannot remember this morning, regarding the conception of the twin brothers, how one was conceived first, but then the other, but they were twin brothers, and the other was born first. So that's as much detail as I can
Okay, that's
share with you
something
this
to ponder.
morning that I can remember.
Prabhu, just as with the occasion, Srila Prabhupada bringing us so much understanding of Lalita, I would like to reference that I lived with a Zen Buddhist. He was studying at the Rockhampton Institute back in '76, him and his good wife. But they were very astute followers of Buddhism, Zen. And he was studying at the university at the time the function of the left and right side of the brain. And actually what he wrote as his thesis is so correct to what is an understanding today. Laurie was his name. And it fell into place so much actually to what he was saying. And as much as that we hear from Srila Prabhupada that Lalita was of the right side of the camp, right? The left and right side. And it so much correlates to the left and right side of the brain. One thing, that struck me is you said, feel welcome to expand on the glories of Lalita Devi. And just something that really struck me so sweet was how she is always guiding Srimati Radharani. Don't get fooled by this Krishna. And all of the reasons, because she's from this right camp, so Laurie was explaining how actually the left side of the brain asks the questions as to what it knows of something, you know. So there's the logic and the reasoning. This is, you know, so sweet to realize that it's all contained in the personality of Godhead and, you know, the divine couple. And therefore, in ourselves, as you know, elaborately said, that, you know, in this age of Kali, is in the same body, the tendency, the divine and demoniac. And yet, the demoniac is so easily defeated with this process that we follow. By chanting Hare Krishna and just hearing the name, we don't have to actually have any other impetus but to hear. If we just hear the name, all this will be revealed to us through, you know, the mother of what Srila Prabhupada presented, the Veda.
Very nice. Yeah, thank you, Prabhupada. Very nice. KK, did you want to add something there? Yeah.
I don't have my glasses, but if you want to finish on this note, this is the Sri Lalita Astakam Barupa Goswami.
Okay, let's try and, as long as the English is here, we can try. Yes. All right, this is the, Sri Sri Lalita Astakam Srila Rupa Goswami. I offer my obeisances to Lalita Devi, who has many wonderful qualities. She worships the perspiration of Sri Sri Radha Mukunda's lotus feet and acts boldly out of intense feelings of friendship for them. I offer my obeisances to Lalita Devi, who has many wonderful qualities. Her face defeats the beauty of the ambrosial corona of the full moon. Her eyes are like those of an alarmed deer, and she is expert in the art of decorating Sri Radhika. I offer my obeisances to Lalita Devi, who has many wonderful qualities. She wears a wonderful silk dress, coloured like a peacock, with outstretched feathers, as well as a nice blouse, and her complexion defeats the golden splendour of Gaurachana. I offer my obeisances to Lalita Devi, who has many wonderful qualities. She teaches Sri Radhika the art of a left-wing heroine, saying, Radhe, firmly reject this shrewd son of the king of Braja. O immoral girl, listen, don't be weak. I'm saying it for your own good. Don't submit to him. I offer my obeisances to Lalita Devi, who has many wonderful qualities. Her eyes become red with anger as she sees the son of the king of Braja cheating Sri Radhika even slightly. Then she will promptly embarrass him with her clever words. I offer my obeisances to Lalita Devi, who has many wonderful qualities. She is the abode of the affection of the queen of cowherds, Jasoda. She is the teacher of the art of friendship for all the Sakis, and her love for Sri Radhika and Krishna is equal. I offer my obeisances to Lalita Devi, who has many wonderful qualities. She requests every girl in Braja to join the party of Rishabhanu's daughter, and who fulfills all desires of that girl or of Sri Radhika. I offer my obeisances to Lalita Devi, who has many wonderful qualities. All her desires were at once fulfilled when she saw the path of Sri Radha in Braja being blocked by a certain person. I offer my obeisances to Lalita Devi, who has many wonderful qualities. She always enjoys the festival of Radha and Brajendra Suta's meeting, and she is the chief of all Radha's dear girlfriends in Gokula. Anyone who recites these prayers praising Lalita's wonderful qualities with a pure vision will be lovingly counted amongst her own friends or maidservants by Sri Radhika, the brilliant desire vine of the family of the Lord of Kirtida, King Vrishabhanu. Jai. Srimati Lalita Sakhi Devi Ki. Thank you, Krishna Kirtana. Very nice. Nectar. All right, Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Go Premanandi.